Guys, I'm going to be honest. I'd rather have Conner Weigman than Riley Leonard.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So, former Duke quarterback, of course, the quarterback of new Texas A&M head football coach Mike Elko Riley Leonard entered his name into the transfer portal. And now two schools emerged pretty quickly as the top candidates for Leonard. It was Notre Dame, Auburn, but a lot of people I've seen on Twitter, a lot of people are saying, hey, Leonard should follow Elko to Texas A&M. I've seen Aggie fans saying that. I've seen other schools say, hey, maybe he's going to follow Elko to A&M. I will tell you this right now. I would much rather have Conner Weigman quarterback the Aggies going forward than Riley Leonard. Now, I want to preface a few things here. First of all, like I said, I think Leonard goes to Notre Dame. That's what it looks like. That's what it seems like. I think you're going to see that happen pretty quickly. I think Leonard is going to his next stop will be Notre Dame. But I just think that, and I mean, I've had some people comment and say, should we go get this quarterback? Should we go? I'm telling you right now, I feel very happy with Texas A&M in the spot they're in quarterback-wise right now. Conner Weigman, I think, I'll tell you now. If he doesn't get hurt last season or this season, well, I guess now technically last season, well, there's still a bowl game. But if he doesn't get hurt, right, I think we look back on this season, and when Leonard enters the portal, you don't even consider him over Conner Weigman. I think the numbers Wiggs was going to put up were going to be insane. And I mean now, but I will tell you, wherever Leonard ends up, whether it's Notre Dame or Auburn, he's going to face his old coach. Because you got to remember, I mean, look at the schedule. Notre Dame is on Texas A&M schedule, so we're going to see Riley Leonard play in Kyle Field, assuming he goes to Notre Dame. And then if he were to go to Auburn, the Aggies play Auburn in Auburn next year. So, there's going to be that whole, Mike Elko versus his old quarterback kind of story that's going to, because I think you're going to see him go to, probably Notre Dame, maybe Auburn. But the reason I bring this conversation up, because like I said, to me, this conversation is more big picture for Conner Weigman more than it is, hey, I think, I think Texas A&M might get Riley Leonard. I don't. The reason I wanted to have this conversation is I've seen some Aggie fans saying, hey, let's go get Riley Leonard. And if it was like, we want some depth, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with that. But it was like, I think people, the comments I read, the way I understood this is we want Riley Leonard to be the next quarterback at Texas A&M. No way. Riley Leonard is a great football player, truly a great football player. He's taller than I thought he was. I did not realize. I mean, he's an all-around good football player. I think he's going to succeed wherever his next stop is, but I would rather have Conner Weigman quarterbacking the Aggies going forward. And that is the reason I wanted to have this conversation. I think people are going to be so quick, to forget who Conner Weigman is. Because, he missed the last Auburn game. So last 8 games of the season, whatever it was, I think it was 8 or 3, 8.5 if you really count that. he missed those games with injury. After his freshman season, we kind of said, what does Wigman have? What does he have? We saw him win that LSU game his freshman year, and you went, okay, this guy can be pretty good. This dude could be pretty good. But, we didn't really, we didn't know yet. What we saw in the handful of games he played before he went down with his injury against the Auburn Tigers really, to me, I think proved this guy is going to be an absolute monster. So I'm sold on Conner Weigman. Conner Weigman is a guy that I don't know how many guys in the transfer portal, like big names. And I'm not saying these names are considering Texas A&M, but I'm going to rattle off some names like the Howard from Kansas State and the Grayson McCall and Riley Leonard. I'm taking Wigman. I'm taking Conner Weigman over pretty much every single quarter. KJ Jefferson, give me Conner Weigman. I'm serious. I'm taking Conner Weigman. I think this dude is going to be an absolute monster next year. I really do. I believe that. I think Conner Weigman is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. When he got hurt, people were doing their weekly SEC quarterback power rankings lists. Wigman was quickly kind of climbing into the top 5 of those before he got hurt. Conner Weigman is going to be a monster, truly. So there are not many names that you could say, this guy or Conner Weigman, that I would say this guy over Conner Weigman, truly. So, like I said, this conversation, I wanted to have it as a more big picture thing than anything. No, I don't think Riley Leonard will come to Texas A&M. I think until he commits, it'll be something you see like Texas A&M float around a little bit, but I don't think he will come to Texas A&M. I just wanted to have the conversation because I think Aggie fans are like I said, are not a ton. I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying I've seen a few people on Twitter say, hey, let's go get Riley Leonard. No, I'd rather have Conner Weigman. This dude's a monster. He's going to have if he stays healthy next season, he is going to have a monster year. I really believe that. I think one thing we learned based on the last couple of games of the season was I believe that Coach Fisher's hands were on that offense more than he let on before the season started. So I'd like to see Conner Weigman with a real OC that's not Jimbo Fisher, and then Petrino, we saw how the offense looked when he kind of took control late in the season and it moved well. So I'm really excited to see what this offense will look like with Conner Weigman running it. Texas A&M fans, let me know. And like I said, I want this to be hypothetical. I want people, Notre Dame fans, Duke fans, whoever's in here listening to this. This is purely a hypothetical conversation. I wanted to kind of explain how good of a quarterback I think Conner Weigman's going to be. But folks, let me know in the YouTube comments. If you had a choice, if you could pick, would you pick for the future? Would you take Riley Leonard or would you take Conner Weigman? I'm riding with Conner Weigman, but let me know in the comments. I think that's a fun debate that can be had back and forth. So let me know in the comments your all's thoughts on that conversation. I'm curious to see everybody's response to that. Now we're going to talk a little bit about, can Texas A&M, with the expansion of the playoff next season, make it in year 1 of the 12-team playoff? Maybe. We're going to talk about it coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. First, I got to tell you about our wonderful friends over at FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders. I love FanDuel. It's the app I use when I sports gamble. It's just a ton of fun to use, and the app is so easy to use. I've used some of the competition before to collect some bonus bets and different things like that. And it just, at the end of the day, FanDuel is just the better app. It's easy to use. It's fun to use. I like their lines. I love everything about FanDuel. It is the best place to wager on sports. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. So, a conversation that I want to have, because it's an interesting one. We are getting into the part of, of college football where, hey, the 12-team playoff is here, right? The 12-team playoff's here. Mike Elko is the new head coach. One thing you can look at, and this is what I want to run through. We're going to run through Texas A&M's schedule. There's a ton that's going to change in opposing teams, but I'm just telling you right now, I think this team, and it's going to depend on what Mike Elko does in the portal, which we'll have that conversation in segment 3, and what Mike Elko does keeping players on the roster around. There's some players on the roster that I expect to enter the portal. Also, I want to let everybody know, my plan is when somebody enters the portal, when a big name enters the portal, a Texas A&M player, I'll do a little 8-minute bonus episode. So be prepared for those. When stuff happens, we're going to pump out some bonus episodes over here at Locked On Aggies. But this is my thoughts on this. I think that if you look, this is the way I did it. Look at the top 12 right now, okay? Look at the top 12 college football teams right now. There are, there's some teams that basically, there are some teams that would be in the mix right now, whether it's 13, 14, 15, 16, or 8 through 12, that would be in contention for the college football playoff next season right now. And there are a couple 2-loss teams. And that is my whole argument. I am looking at Texas A&M's schedule. I know that there is so much that's going to change about the roster, so much that's going to change about a lot on Texas A&M's roster and the outlook for next season. But, knowing what we know right now and just starting to have that conversation of, oh, yeah, the 12-team playoff is coming up. When I look at this schedule, Notre Dame at home, I'll tell you this right now. Call me crazy. Look, call me crazy. That's completely fine. I think Texas A&M can beat Notre Dame at home next year. And I'll tell you this, no matter what changes with Notre Dame's roster, if they go get Riley Leonard, what changes in Texas A&M's roster, who Elko goes and gets from the portal, who Texas A&M loses, I think they're going to compete in that football game. I think they might win it. I really do believe that. Then McNeese, you win that game. At Florida, I know the Swamp's a scary place, but I think the wheels are going to come off for in Gainesville, to where I think that's a win. You beat Bowling Green. Arkansas, I don't love the whole Petrino over there because I do think he's going to make that team better, but it sounds like KJ Jefferson might enter the portal. He said he was going to, but then he said on his Instagram, like, I haven't made my decision yet. Will Arkansas be good next year? I think the Aggies can win that game. You get to play LSU at home. What does their situation look like next year? I think that's, obviously, and these things are liable to change, but I think that's a game you can win. New Mexico State, I know they beat the brakes off of Auburn, but I'm not worried about that game at home. At Auburn, at Mississippi State, out South Carolina, no concern really there. I know Auburn's going to be getting better. I think Mississippi State made a good hire over there, but I'm not concerned about them in the future, to be honest. I'm about them next year. South Carolina, not sold on Beamer, not sold on that team. Missouri is interesting, but once again, you get to play that game at home. And then Texas at home. Like, what I'm saying is, I really do believe that if Elko holds on to 65% if he holds on to 65% of the recruiting class and the current roster, keeps some of that talent around, and does well in the portal, that Texas A&M will be favored in potentially 10 of these football games. I really do believe that. And I know a lot's going to change. A lot's going to change on these opposing teams' rosters, Texas A&M's roster. I get that. What I am saying is, I think a 2-loss football team makes the 12-team playoff. So I think that there's, Texas A&M's not going to go undefeated next year. I'm not saying that. I know that. I'm not crazy. I do understand that. But I believe with this schedule, listen, look who they're not playing. They're not playing Alabama. They're not playing Georgia. They got gifted a really nice schedule. I mean, I know I did this in the offseason last year. I mean, McNeese is a win. I think at Florida's a win. Bowling Green's a win. New Mexico State's a win. I'm going to say Arkansas is a win. I really do believe Arkansas is a win. New Mexico, yeah, I said so. Yeah, Notre Dame, McNeese, Florida, Bowling Green, Arkansas, New Mexico State. I think those are all wins. I think that South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Auburn are all wins, frankly. I think that if you find a way to win one of these three games, Texas, Missouri, Texas, Missouri, Notre Dame, and LSU, if you find a way to win a couple of those games, I think 10 wins is on the table. I really do. So let me count this again. So McNeese, Florida, Bowling Green, Arkansas, New Mexico State. So that's 5 wins. Auburn, Mississippi State, South Carolina. So 8, excuse me. So 8. I think there's 8 games on the schedule that right now I think Texas A&M wins those games. Now I know weird stuff happens, injuries, everything. I mean, my point in this whole conversation is I think the expansion of the 12-team playoff is going to be really exciting for college football as a whole for Texas A&M. I mean, here's the deal. If Texas A&M was playing Bama and Georgia on the road next year, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The reason I'm having this conversation is the schedule is so manageable. I mean, that means I think if you win the games, you will be supposed to win, and then you find a way to go 2-4 in LSU, Notre Dame, Missouri, and Texas. All 4 games that you play at home. You play all 4 of those games at home. If you go 2-4 in those football games, I think you make the college football playoff. And I know people are going to say, you're crazy, you're a homer. I'm only, like I said, the only reason I am saying this is because I think this schedule is so manageable. And I know a ton's going to change. I get that. The point I'm making is I just think this should be an exciting time. I think a lot of people look at the first season of a new head coach, right? And they go, they look at the first season and they go, oh, he's not going to succeed. It's his first season. They'll win 7 games, make a bowl game. There'll be excitement for the next season. I think if he does a good job of holding on to a good portion of this roster and hits the portal hard, I am fully a believer that this team can head there without having to play Alabama or Georgia. I believe this team can be there in year 1. People are going to call me crazy, and that's okay. I get that. I understand that. A lot of people that, and I'm not trying to sunshine pump either. I mean, this is just genuine. This is just, and we'll obviously, that's what we do here. We're going to break this down when we get closer to the season, when teams change, when stuff changes in the portal. We're going to discuss all those changes. What I'm getting at here is simple as this. I think that with the way the schedule shapes up, I think your most difficult games of the season, every one of them, you are going to play at Kyle Field. And that is so important. You play your tough games at home, your easier games on the road. If this season goes chalk and then you win a couple games, maybe you're not supposed to. And I mean, like we say Missouri, I think there's a chance that Missouri, Texas A&M will probably be favored when Missouri comes to town. No, I know they're a good team, but on the road at Kyle Field, assuming, and all this is assuming that Elko does a good job holding on to, around 66% of this roster and the recruiting class and hits the portal hard. If all of this roster leaves, then once again, what I'm saying is the reason I'm having this conversation is because I think he'll do a good job holding on to some of this roster, and I think he'll do a good job hitting the portal hard. The other thing I want to add to this is, and I talked the other day, for the Mike Elko tenure to be a success, I think he has to win an SEC championship. There was a really smart comment someone left on that saying, in the new world of college football with the 12-team playoff, you don't really have to win the SEC championship to make the playoff. And that is such a great point. Such a great point. So while winning the SEC championship would be awesome, it'd be a great, hey, we're here, we're not going anywhere for Texas A&M. I do think that just, making a playoff is going to bring so much enjoyment to the fans. And that's kind of my point. So that's the new world of college football, I think, is going to be nice for Texas A&M. I think it's going to be a good thing for the Aggies. So let me know your all's thoughts on that in the comments. I mean, I really, like I said, I'll make my case one more time. You don't play Bama and Georgia. Your easiest games are all at home. I mean, your most difficult games are all at home, which is kind of the opposite of last year's schedule for A&M. All their tough games were on the road. Tennessee, LSU, you played all the Ole Miss, and then really Bama at home was really the only easy game you had at home. So that's something to look at and something to be discussed without a doubt in my mind. How is this defense going to look like next season under Mike Elko? How good is it going to be? And another point to it, who is Mike Elko going to go get in the transfer portal to play for his defense? We'll talk about all that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I think Mike Elko is going to have a good defense year one. And a lot of that has to do with if you can keep some of these talented players around. If you can keep some of these talented defensive players around, we know what's between the ears when it comes to Mike Elko and his defense. He's a great defensive mind. He's an incredible defensive coordinator. I believe that. What I am saying is this. I think that if Mike Elko, I think he's got to hit the portal hard when it comes to the secondary. And I know there's some young guys there, some young guys coming in, some young guys on the roster that I believe in for the future, but you're going to lose some guys. You're going to have some older guys move on. I think you need to go get some talented players in the secondary from the portal. Here's the deal. Texas A&M did that last year, and I kind of swung and missed. I mean, we didn't even really get to see Tony Grimes. I still believe in a bright future for McCall, and DeBerry was kind of So I think Elko's got to go and grab some players in the secondary from the portal. If he does that, I think this secondary and this defense as a whole is going to be great. I believe he's going to have the guys up front. I believe he's going to have the linebackers. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the secondary. If he patches up this secondary, which I think he's going to do, I think you're going to see. Here's the deal. I think that what we had last year on defense, while there was a few things that the DC did, at the end of the day, I like what Mike Elko brings to the table on defense compared to what we had last year. I think this defense is how good it was last year. I think it'll be better next season because I think Mike Elko is just truly an incredible defensive mind that is going to come in and lead this defense to immediate success. And that's part of the reason, the OC hire is going to be important, obviously, but I just think what Mike Elko is going to be able to do on defense is I think it's going to be one of the best defenses in college football to where your offense just has to get the job done. It'd be great to have an awesome defense and an awesome offense, no question. But I'm a big fan of having a great defense. Having a great defense wins ball games. You can slow teams, and then if your offense just can do enough. And I believe with Conner Weigman, this offense will be able to do enough. So, yeah, I think Mike Elko is going to do a good job building this defense up, going to get the players he needs from the portal to make this defense better. I think he's going to do a good job recruiting the players on the current roster that he wants to stick around to be on this defense next year. I think this Elko defense is going to be scary. I mean, I saw the numbers. We all know the numbers from what Elko did when he was the DC, here. He had good defenses. He's going to continue to have good defenses for a very long time. I believe that. So I think this defense under Coach Mike Elko is going to be an incredibly, incredibly scary sight for opposing teams. I wouldn't want to come playing Kyle Field with this defense, with how much pressure they're going to get. This defense is going to be so scary, and it's going to be the reason that I believe now I am bought in to the Mike Elko tenure at Texas A&M being a big-time success. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Like I say, players into the portal, whatever happens there, I'll discuss it. I'll do little bonus shows on it. So be prepared for lots of bonus content there. Same when we get a player, all that. We're going to have a ton of bonus content coming over the next month. We have early signing day coming. A lot of fun stuff going on here at Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all everydayers for being here, for tuning in every single day. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all you do, being here, listening. Helps the show out. Helps me be able to do this on a day-to-day basis. Everybody, it's Friday. Once again, have a great weekend. Have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy fun weekend of college football, NFL football. Everybody enjoy it. Appreciate you being here, and we will see you next time.